Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. This is Kiarza. I'm filling in for Vi. And this story is about a odd cosplay encounter at Nan Desu Kan. So Nan Desu Kan is an anime convention. If you didn't know, it's held in Colorado. It's kind of moved around a bit from Denver to Aurora, Lakewood, back to Denver, and then Aurora again. But anyways, so at this convention, there's a lot of time is cosplayers that dress as French maids. And French maids seems to be a thing that is common in anime, so there are anime cosplay French maid groups. And one of these cosplayers had a very interesting sounding name. I'll get to it in a minute. So the encounter kind of happened where, there's this group of maids, Vi's friend, and him wanted to get some pictures of the maids together and stuff, so we talked a bit and got some group photos, cosplay with the maids. And one of the maids, wanted to hand me their social contacts card, so we could get in touch online. So I'm perfectly fine with that. And so they hand me their card, and then right away I noticed that the name is very similar spelling to charlierose. Now, if you never grew up on the internet or you've never watched TV, you might not know who charlierose is. Charlierose is a more niche kind of talk show host, kind of like, Jay Leno, but not as well known as Jay Leno. And they were mostly on PBS, which is the educational programming. So if you ever watched things like, Sesame Street, Sagwa the Chinese Cat, Dragon Tales, you're more than likely watching all of that on PBS. And charlierose would come on in the very, very late evening. So when I was a little kid, I had trouble sleeping at night. So sometimes PBS would be on, and then charlierose would come on, and the way the guy's, Ben Steinish sounding voice would just lull me to sleep. And this guy's had his career going for decades. I mean, charlierose has been around longer than I've even been alive. So he had like his whole career through my childhood, into my teens, into my adulthood. And, so I'm a millennial, as you know, and so he kind of like even predates my generation, but he's still around, surprisingly enough. He kind of like went on hiatus, for a couple of years, but then he came back. I mean, the guy's like a turd that won't flush. He just has to be in the limelight, it seems like, but then like nobody else really knows who he is because of the fact that the limelight that he's in is so dim. So maybe that's why a lot of these people that I've encountered, well, just that one time, I encountered, didn't know who the hell charlierose was. And at first, when they seemed a little bit weirded out by it, that I knew who this person was and they didn't know who this person was. So I kind of wonder if they were thinking in their head, I was kind of like that M. Night Shyamalan movie, where they're on the beach and they're old. Well, like I said, I'm a millennial, so I'm not old. I grew up with the internet. The internet was part of my childhood, big part of my childhood. I grew up with TV, so I don't know. It's just a really weird thing. But then again, when I thought about it more, I was like, yeah, the guy, charlierose, is kind of a niche type of talk show host. He's not very popular, so that could be why this person has never heard of them before. But it was just kind of like ironic that the name was so similar to charlierose, and how I kind of like at first glance thought, that's what it was, because of the way the spelling was only off by a couple of letters. That, and it's a pretty common name too. So, I mean, if this cosplayer had, picked a very similar sounding name to go by, their cosplay handle, and it just happened to be very similar to this unknown talk show host, that could be a very possible, reason for that. But it was still kind of funny, but, at the same time, but they obviously got a little bit weirded out by it because I knew who they were and they didn't, so yeah, I thought it was funny. But anyways, you meet some really interesting people at anime conventions, and that was just, one of the encounters I thought was kind of like a little bit bizarre and kind of like weird at the same time, but funny as well, because it just, it's like, oh, maybe I should change my cosplay name so people don't get me confused with this talk show host I've never even heard of. Anyways, so that's all I had for you. Thanks again for watching. If you like this video and the content I do here on this channel, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and I will see you all later. Thank you.